The Dating Show.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Rod, and today we're looking at being a vegan and dating. Now, before we start, I'm going to be talking to Liz in a moment, but a couple of sites that if you are a vegan or vegetarian you might want to look at is one-to-one-vegandating.com. That's one-to-one-vegandating.com, and also vegetariandatingonline.com. So that's one-to-one-vegandating.com and also vegetariandatingonline.com. So I'm joined by Liz. When did you decide to become a vegan, and why did you decide to become a vegan?
I became a vegetarian first, and that was probably about 4 years ago. And it was after my daughter has actually been a vegetarian for about the last 10 years. And she persuaded me to watch the film and read the book called Cowspiracy. Because I was always like, as long as the animals had a healthy life and they've been treated well and all the rest of it, then it shouldn't be a problem. And it really was a situation of being brainwashed literally your whole life to think, well, that's the way that you eat. But when I watched the movie Cowspiracy, it really was an eye-opener as to what we do to animals, and the kind of life that they lead is just absolutely awful. I mean, they only have one thing that they have, and that's their life. And we make that so awful that in all good conscience, I couldn't actually continue with that. I can't justify eating animals' flesh. And the other thing is that if that animal has had such an awful life and has lived in pain and degradation and with basically disrespect and hate all its life, all those emotions are taken into that animal. And I don't want to eat that. I don't want to actually have that being put into my body. So it was a health reasons really, as well as the fact that in all good conscience, I can't imagine the kind of life that they live.
So it's more of a conscious decision from your point of view. You're thinking about the animal as an actual sort of living being, whereas a lot of people.
It's a living, breathing animal, isn't it? I mean, it has feelings and it has and emotions just as we do. It's not a situation where we are the only animal on the earth that actually has rights and has emotions and feelings. They do as well. They have a right to actually have their life and have a nice life, basically.
Would you agree if an animal was treated properly and looked after properly, not the way we're doing it at the moment, but if they were looked after carefully and with emotion, that they then should be eaten? Would you agree to that?
I don't believe that there is anything humane about slaughter.
Yeah.
There is a reason why we take our kids to go apple picking and strawberry picking, and we don't take them to a slaughterhouse. I don't think anything gives up their life willingly and trips into the slaughterhouse and goes, "Here I am, you can cut my throat." It's a horrific way of dying, and a lot of these animals are brutally slaughtered.
And obviously it was quite a big, so you became a vegetarian and then moved on to a vegan. Now that's quite a big step, isn't it?
As vegan as I possibly can be. I mean, I admit, and I hold up my hand, I still eat cheese, but that's the only dairy product that I do eat. It's just I haven't actually found. I mean, I don't eat a lot of cheese anyway, but I haven't found a vegan cheese that I actually like and enjoy. But I mean, I drink a load of coffee and I drink and I mix it with oat milk. So I don't drink dairy products and I don't eat yogurt and that kind of thing. So that was all changed for me. I'm as vegan as I possibly can be. Veganism is actually quite tricky because it's also you've also got to look at what sweets and chocolates and you know, cakes and all the rest of it that you actually eat, because all of that comes into play. Even the glue that we use has, you know, you have to make the choice that if you're totally vegan, then you use a different type of glue, because the glue that we use is used, taken from animal products and animal you know, part of the slaughter of cows.
Mm.
So veganism is actually a lot more than just what you eat. It changes your entire lifestyle.
Is it, as somebody who
So
doesn't
yeah,
know a lot about this, is it more expensive to be a vegan than a non-vegan?
I haven't found it so. I mean, I think fruit and vegetables are a lot cheaper than steak, for
Yeah.
instance.
Mm.
And you know, I haven't found that my oat milk is any more expensive than dairy milk. In fact, I think if you're proper vegetarian vegan, you can actually save money with your eating habits. I have found that vegan cosmetics and vegan cleaning products and things like that are tricky, and they can be more expensive, but then you use them so infrequently and they last for such a long time that it's not a huge increase in your living, you know, your monetary living costs.
And health-wise, when you decided to become a vegan, well, actually, two questions. When you decided to become a vegetarian, did you see health benefits? And then when you progressed to a vegan, did you see more benefits or not?
I think the biggest health changes was when I became a vegetarian, because you're not eating animal products and animal flesh that take such a lot of digestive work in your body. And I felt a lot cleaner being a vegetarian, a lot lighter in forms of digestion. Because I mean, if you eat a heavy meat meal, you immediately feel really tired and almost sleepy. Whereas when you're eating a vegetarian meal and you're eating vegetables, you feel energized. And that makes a big difference.
Mm.
And I just found that was the way. You do feel lighter within yourself. Your digestion is a lot better. You feel a lot cleaner inside. So
Yeah.
it's a cleaner kind of way of living.
Okay. And
And it's
just
not, and also it's not the huge change that you actually think, because nowadays there are so many products that you can buy that are vegetarian and vegan. And when you go to a restaurant, there's generally a nice vegetarian or vegan option on the menu. So it's, you know, it's not like in days gone by where everybody went, what are you going to eat? Are you going to eat lettuce and tomato and cucumber all the time? It's a lot different. There's a big change now because it's becoming more acceptable. It's becoming much more varied, if you want to put it that way. And there's so many experimental dishes that you can make. I mean, there's hundreds of vegetarian and vegan cookbooks that you can try that's really interesting. It's a whole new adventure, if you like, in living.
And when it comes to your choice of a partner, would your views and your beliefs on being a vegan and stroke vegetarian, would that affect your choice of a new partner? Would you date somebody who eats steak every night? Is probably the easiest way of putting it.
Well, I mean, that's quite a tricky question, because if you do fall in love with somebody who isn't a vegetarian or a vegan, do you say no to love? It's a tricky question, isn't it?
It is.
It's
That's
one
why
of
I asked
those
you
things
it.
that you have to. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. Sometimes it's a way. It's you can only make up your own mind, and it's based on your own feelings. I think respect is more important, and I wouldn't date somebody who actually ridiculed or didn't respect my choices in life, just as I would expect to respect their choices in life. But I think if you were dating somebody who ate steak every night, I think the mere smell of actually cooking flesh would have a severe influence on you. So yeah, it is a tricky question. I think it's something that it requires a lot of serious thought and how you feel about that person. Because let me tell you, going to a barbecue as a vegetarian, it's just an off-putting, disgusting experience because the mere smell of that flesh cooking it makes you feel sick. So yeah, it's something that you really have to consider. But I think mostly if you're seeking a partner, you would seek somebody who has common interests and common ground, and therefore you would be looking for somebody who was either vegetarian or vegan anyway.
Well, that
So
brings
you would.
brings me on to my next question, which is, there are dedicated vegetarian and vegan dating sites. Um, would that be the route you would go down to sort of avoid that potential issue? And how important do you think those actually dedicated sites are, that they are vegan or vegetarian? So you know you're going to meet somebody who's got a similar philosophy and similar views to yourself.
Well, I think those dedicated sites are vital in the world of dating, whether it is actually for dating for mature people or for vegetarianism or for veganism. I think those dedicated sites are vital because then it puts you in contact with those. It's almost like a head start that
Mm.
those sites give you a head start into the world of dating because you already have something in common with whoever you're actually potentially meeting, and you already have that introduction which is quite important in your life. So yes, those sites are very important, and that's where I would start looking, is somebody who is at least vegetarian, if not vegan, at least a vegetarian, so that you have got that aspect that is in common. And dedicated dating sites, that's the way of the world now, isn't it? That's the way we should actually be looking, because it avoids, as you say, meeting people that that you might have issues with, or you might have conflicting opinions with.
And actually, these issues are, if you've got a dedicated tennis site or sports site, is sort of one thing. Somebody's really interested in tennis, but fundamentally, when it comes down to being a vegan or a vegetarian, that is a whole bigger issue than liking tennis or liking football or liking rock climbing or something like that. So these dedicated sites that are for vegans and vegetarians are actually more important than some of the other dedicated sites. Would you agree with that?
Well, I agree with that wholeheartedly because vegetarianism and veganism is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a dietary choice. It is a lifestyle that you have undertaken, that you will not put up with animal cruelty and the way that we farm animals, and it's a choice that you make that is vitally important to you. It's the part of the very core of your being, is that is what you believe. It's like being on a Christian site, or so that is a fundamental belief that you have in your life.
Well, thank you so much there to Liz. That was really informative and also interesting. So The sites we recommend on the dating show that you go and look at are one-to-one-vegan-dating.com. That's one-to-one-vegan-dating.com, and also vegetarian-dating-online.com. So that's vegetarian-dating-online.com. I'll see you very, very soon.
The Dating Show